Brought to you by Penguin.
Trust Me by Lesley Pearse. Read by Sally Scott. Part 1. 1947 to 1955. Chapter 1. May 1947. Hither Green, South London. Edna Grooms and Iris Brown paused in their gossiping as Anne Taylor came tripping along Leahurst Road. Her high heels tapped out a staccato message, "Look at me, look at me." And so they stared, hating her for her beauty, blonde hair, trim figure and youth. Edna and Iris were both only in their early 30s, no more than 6 years older than Anne, but their crossover pinnies, headscarves knotted like turbans, and sagging overweight bodies made them look much older. "She'll be off to the hairdresser's again," Edna said accusingly, shaking her tin of Brasso and bending over to finish polishing the letterbox she'd started before Iris came out of her flat next door. "She's always in there. All she thinks of is how she looks." Iris put her hands on her hips and smirked as Anne came closer. "How's the little uns?" she asked, with some malice. "Stuck indoors as usual?" "The children are fine, thank you," Anne replied, without even breaking her step, her nose firmly in the air. "And yes, they are indoors. I don't allow them to play in the street disturbing the neighbours." It was the crisp, cultured voice and the snipe at Edna and Iris's children, who were playing a noisy game of cricket further down the street, which momentarily stunned the two older women. By the time Iris had managed to open her mouth again, Anne had already disappeared around the corner into Manor Lane. "Stuck-up bitch," Iris spat out. Edna laughed. "You asked for that one, Iris. If she weren't so bloody posh, she might have whacked you." "She might be posh, but she's no better than she should be," Iris retorted, sitting down on the low wall which gave a mere 3 feet of front garden to the 2-story flats. "She's been carrying on with Tosh down at the pub for months now. I've 2 minds to slit Reg the wink." "I wouldn't if I were you," Edna said, abandoning her polish to sit on the wall beside her friend, and drawing a pack of turf out of her pinny pocket. "I reckon he'd knock you out." The 2 women lit up their cigarettes, enjoying the warm spring sunshine on their faces. It was the first warm day of the year. 1947 had been the worst winter on record. Snow lying on the ground from January right through to early April, and it was only now, the first week in May, that they'd been able to come outside without a coat. But apart from the sunshine, there was no real evidence of spring in Leahurst Road, for there were no trees, and the tiny front gardens were used to house dustbins and bicycles, not flowers. Even further down the street, nearer to Hither Green Station, where the long terrace of Victorian houses was broken by a bomb site, the weeds and grass hadn't yet begun to grow. Across the street was Lee Manor School, but as it was Saturday, the gates in the 8-foot fence were closed, shutting out the sights of pots of daffodils on the windowsills. Edna drew hard on her cigarette before speaking again. "You're sure she's carrying on with Tosh at the pub? I can't see someone like her messing with a creep like him. I wouldn't touch him with a flaming barge pole." "Well, he's loaded, ain't he?" Iris said with a sniff. "She thinks she's too grand to live around here. 'Spect she thinks he'll set her up somewhere more to her liking. He won't, though. He's as tight as a monkey's balls." Edna laughed. Tosh, the landlord of the station hotel, was famous for his meanness. They joked that moths flew out when he opened his wallet. He was also nearly 50, balding and paunchy, an ex-boxer with a broken nose. It was surprising enough that Anne Taylor, with her stunning looks and hoity-toity manner, should even work for him as a barmaid, but although Edna would like to believe what her friend was saying, she thought it extremely unlikely that Anne would stoop to having an affair with him too. Why would she want a man to take her away from here anyway? Reg ain't a boozer and he's always in work, she said. Iris rolled her eyes with impatience. "Are you blind and deaf?"
Sample complete. Ready to continue?